probably heard this before. Humans are wired to follow leaders. That obedience is baked into us. Some ancient survival instinct where the strong ruled and the weak simply fell in line. That's mostly wrong. For almost all of human history, the opposite was true. Our ancestors didn't just tolerate leaders, they actively destroyed anyone who tried to become one. And the way they did it is stranger and far more specific than you'd think. Anthropologist Christopher Boehm spent decades studying hunter-gatherer bands across the world, from Africa to Australia to the Americas. And he found something almost every modern person gets backwards. In small, ancient groups, if one person started acting dominant, the rest of the band didn't submit. They ganged up. This is called a reverse dominance hierarchy. In nearly every other primate species, chimps, gorillas, baboons, a small number of individuals dominate the whole group through fear and force. Humans built the opposite system. The many actively suppress the few. And this wasn't accidental. It was organized. Boehm identified 4 specific tools that ancient bands used to stop any one person from grabbing power. The first was public opinion, simply talking about someone behind their back until their reputation collapsed before it could grow into influence. The second was ridicule, mocking someone relentlessly until the idea of standing above the group became humiliating instead of impressive. The third was disobedience. If someone started giving orders, the group's default response wasn't to comply. It was to simply ignore them. And the fourth, the most severe, was ostracism, cutting a person off from the group entirely. In the ancient world, that could mean isolation, exile, or death. There's one documented example of this that's almost too perfect to be real. Among the Kongsan people of southern Africa, anthropologist Richard Lee documented a bizarre custom back in the 1960s. When a hunter returned from a kill with a huge animal, the group didn't celebrate him. They insulted the meat. They'd say it was scrawny, barely worth the trip, not even good enough to bother cooking, even when it clearly, obviously was. It wasn't cruelty, it was maintenance. If a hunter is showered with praise every single time he succeeds, eventually he starts believing he's better than everyone else. So the group deliberately punctured his ego, every time, on purpose. Now, if bands were this good at crushing leaders, there's an obvious question. How did we ever get from that to kings, empires, and presidents? It turns out there was a missing step in between. A strange in-between kind of leader that most people have never heard of. Anthropologists studying parts of Melanesia, especially Papua New Guinea, found societies with something called big man leadership. And it's genuinely one of the strangest political systems ever documented. A big man had no formal title, no throne, no inherited authority. He couldn't order anyone to do anything. Instead, he earned influence purely by outworking everyone else, growing more crops, raising more pigs, and then giving nearly all of it away at massive public feasts. The catch was, he had to keep doing it, forever. One good harvest wasn't enough. The moment he stopped being generous, or a rival started throwing bigger feasts, his followers simply walked away and joined someone else. It's leadership you had to continuously buy with your own labor. No violence required, and no bloodline required either. Just an exhausting, never-ending competition of generosity. This is the missing link. A leadership style that was voluntary and could be abandoned overnight, but still allowed one person to gather real influence over hundreds of others for the first time. It's the bridge between the egalitarian band and the first real chiefs. Which brings us to the 2 instincts underneath all of this. Because it turns out humans don't actually have one drive for leadership. We have 2, and they're almost complete opposites. The first is dominance, rising to the top through force, fear, or the threat of it. People obey dominant figures, sure, but deep down, they don't actually like them. They're just waiting for the safest moment to turn. The second is prestige, rising through skill, knowledge, or generosity, the exact currency a big man traded in. People follow prestigious figures voluntarily. They want to be near them. They copy them, without anyone even telling them to. And that copying instinct runs deeper than you'd expect. In one study, children copied the choices of adults who other people were simply watching closely, even when that watching was completely staged for the experiment. Just being looked at made someone seem worth imitating. We don't just follow strength, we follow attention. So if ancient humans had an entire system, and even an entire intermediate leadership style, built around keeping power temporary and earned, why does the modern world run almost entirely on permanent, unquestioned obedience? The answer isn't that human nature changed, it's that the system broke. Bohm's leveling mechanisms, and even the big man system, only worked in small groups. Places where everyone could watch everyone else. Where word travels overnight. Where a coalition could form in a single evening to take someone down a peg, or simply walk away from a leader who stopped delivering. But once populations grew larger, once people settled into permanent villages and then cities, that constant mutual surveillance became impossible. You can't collectively humiliate someone you've never even met. You can't walk away from a king the way you'd walk away from a big man's feast. And the moment that monitoring broke down, hierarchy came flooding back in. Except this time, there was nothing left to stop it. And here's the part that should genuinely unsettle you. Even though people instinctively distrust forceful, dominant leaders, research shows we still gravitate toward them. But only under one specific condition: when things feel unstable, uncertain, or threatening. Fear doesn't just tolerate dominance, it actively recruits it. So the blind obedience you see in the world today isn't some primitive leftover buried deep in our past. It's closer to a bug. An ancient warning system built to protect small tribes from real, immediate danger that gets accidentally triggered by modern chaos and short-circuits straight into submission. Which means the next time someone tells you humans are simply built to follow, remember, that's not actually the ancient default. The ancient default was layered. Watch closely, mock ruthlessly. Never let anyone stand too tall for too long. And even when someone did rise, make him earn it, feast by feast, with no guarantee he'd keep it. We didn't lose that instinct, we just built a world too big and too permanent for it to work anymore. And maybe that's the real question worth sitting with. It's not why we follow leaders blindly, it's what happened to the part of us that used to refuse.